Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/EntitledPeople for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my opinions at the end, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Jenny thinks her brunch plans were more important than her dad's surgery. I'm 30 female, surgeon, and early this week I was scheduled to do a gallbladder. Oh god, a medical term. I always hate reading these because I mispronounce them. There's always some smartass in the comments. You don't know how to pronounce this, idiot. So here we go. Laparoscopic cholecystectomy. I tried. Removal on a patient. Nothing experimental, but important enough that you don't just push it off until you absolutely have to. His adult daughter, maybe in her mid-20s, comes up to me right before we're about to head into the operating room and asks if I can move it to later in the afternoon because she and her brother had brunch plans. Brunch! While their dad was literally waiting to have surgery. At first, I didn't know if I was to laugh or not because I thought she was joking. She was very serious, thought about walking away, but then I had to keep it cool and explain to her that surgery isn't like a haircut you can reschedule or a plate to wash later. She didn't seem to be moved. She was still insisting and said, "You are the doctor. You can have another appointment to bump someone else, that's your job, and have my dad's later." I bit my tongue, but inside I was boiling. Like, sorry, your father's health is messing up your pancakes and mimosas. The best part is that she threatened that she'd file a complaint against me later for being inflexible and unsympathetic to the family's needs. I will never understand people like that. I work insane hours, miss holidays, go without sleep, and somehow I'm the bad guy because I wouldn't reschedule surgery around brunch. Well, but you see, doctor, it's brunch. It's very important. How else are you supposed to get food? Eat from the hospital vending machines like a peasant? No. How dare you insist they do something along those lines? Wait a minute, hospitals have cafeterias, don't they? Sarcasm aside, can you imagine waking up from surgery and finding out your daughter wanted to delay your surgery because she wanted to go to brunch with your brother? And now they're looking to file a complaint against the surgeon because they wouldn't move your surgery back so your kids could go have brunch while you were waiting for surgery? I feel like that would destroy me as an individual to find out that my health meant so little to them that getting brunch was this important thing that had to be done. So important that they tried pushing back my surgery. Like, it's not often I say something like this, but I would probably end up going no to limited contact just over that alone. Like, I would actually probably pull away from those family members if I found out waking up from surgery that they tried pulling some shit like that. That I meant so little to them that they wanted to delay my surgery. Even if my surgery wasn't life-threatening, I'd still feel pretty goddamn hurt. Gossamer lady. Entitled Realtor? Why, yes she is. A few winters ago, my neighbors moved rather suddenly before they sold their house. This left their house empty, and they worried about it looking empty, so they asked if I could go over once in a while and turn on lights, maybe shovel the walk if we get snow. You know, make the house look lived in. I had no problem doing this as they had been great neighbors, and I was sad to see them go. That same winter, I had a toddler, a baby, and I was pretty decently pregnant, around 7 months along. My husband also worked a lot out of town, so about 2 weeks out of the month, I was on my own with my brood. So, my ex-neighbor must have let the realtor know that I was helping by turning lights on and off and shoveling the front walk if it needed it. Realtor shows up, I will call her Ronnie, and introduces herself and thanks me for my help. Great, she must have also gotten my number from my ex-neighbor because soon she started texting me requests. This ranged from dusting the house, turning on certain lights, etc. ahead of showings. I went over the first time she asked and swiffered a bit and turned on the requested lights. She texted me later how she was disappointed at how dusty the house was. I ignored that text as I didn't give a hot damn what she thought. Then the requests became an everyday thing. She basically wanted me to set up the house every time she had a showing. I had my kids and was very pregnant with a high-risk pregnancy. I wasn't on bed rest or anything, but I had to be careful. I ignored all of these requests. The kicker came when we got a heavy snow. I'm talking a good 1.5 feet of heavy, wet snow. Heart attack snow. Ronnie, the realtor, texts me at 8 p.m. that she will need the driveway cleared by the next morning. The absolute audacity was audacious. I responded to that one, asking if she was out of her mind, that I was 7 months pregnant, and no way was that happening. She asked if my husband could do it. I said he was out of town. She said, well, you'll have to figure something out. Excuse me, madam? I sent her laughing face emojis and went back to what I was doing. Well, lo and behold, Ronnie the Realtor was at my door the next morning, knocking like she was the cops, full-on fist-banging. I opened the door in my pajamas whilst using my baby bump to hold up my baby as he nursed. Irish twins are fun. And just stared at her. She actually had the nerve to say, I thought I told you the driveway needed to be cleared. I have a showing in a half hour. I told her to lose my number and shut the door in her face. I then called my ex-neighbor and told her she better put a leash on her pet realtor because I was about done with her. She was horrified and promised me she'd take care of it, which she must have done because I didn't hear from Ronnie the Realtor again. I did, however, enjoy watching her high-stepping it through all that snow. Alright, pet theory. I think Ronnie the Realtor misinterpreted what the ex-neighbor was saying when they said, oh yeah, our neighbor's gonna help out a bit. Ronnie the Realtor, if I'm being ungodly charitable here, perhaps thought the neighbor was being paid to maintain the house, which is why they had these kind of requests, and didn't realize until after they were chewed out that the neighbor had volunteered their help for minor things, and decided to take full advantage of that. Because the thing is, if I was ever in a position like this, I'd probably just straight up ask the realtor, am I going to get paid for my time? No, then I'm not going to do it. Why are you just assuming that I'm going to come to your beck and call at a moment's notice to shovel the driveway? And fuck, I'm not even 7 months pregnant. Like, that's crazy to ask someone who's 7 months pregnant to figure it out when it comes to shoveling the driveway. Oh, to be a fly on the wall during the conversation between the realtor and the neighbor. Aunt Sam's mom, 25. Entitled office worker thinks he should get to take home gluten-free pizza as a leftover that was not ordered or paid by him before the office even eats. I work in a weird sales job. I've been here going on 33 years. The ages in the office go from 20 to 90. When people work together for 40 years, everybody knows everything about each other. It really is gossip central. I feel like I work in a geriatric high school sometimes. We order lunch for the office at least 2 times a month. It's usually pizza or sandwiches. We have a few people with dietary restrictions and we order kosher, gluten-free, and vegan. I make sure everybody is covered. Since I never know how many people are going to be in the office, we always order extra, and there's always leftovers for people to take home. Since the specialty food is very expensive, we keep it at reception. Last week, I heard someone arguing with the receptionist. He was trying to take the specialty food, which is not ordered for him. When I tried to interject, he started screaming at me, telling me that there's more than enough specialty food and there's no reason why he can't have it. I calmly explained to him that that is ordered for the people who need the dietary restrictions and that there is more than enough pizza for him to take home. He was screaming at a level I can't even describe considering it's about crappy pizza. Well, like every other gossip item in my office, everyone wanted to talk about him taking pizza. Unfortunately, the whole office knows that this gentleman packs pizza in a travel cooler before anybody has actually eaten. He wraps it in tinfoil and takes it home. He's been doing this for years. This is not a money issue. He's just cheap. He's quite well off. The next day, I tried to discuss with him in his office with the door closed that he couldn't talk like that to anybody and explain this specialty food was ordered for people who have dietary restrictions. Once again, he starts screaming at me that there's more than enough specialty pizza and there's no reason he can't have it. I haven't lost my temper in the office in over 8 years. I do my best to be calm and even-toned at all times. But it came out of me like hot lava. I started screaming back that the entire office knows that he's stealing the pizza and it has to stop. He's more than welcome to take pizza home after everybody has eaten. He was quite shocked that the whole office knows. It seems odd he would be surprised considering he whips out aluminum foil to wrap it in. The next morning he asked to speak to me, then begins to cry to tell me he's sorry, he doesn't know why he does it, and he will do better. I felt awful. I felt 2 inches big. That's not who I am, and I needed to do better. For the last week, I have just been a mess. I feel terrible that I yelled at him. I kept telling my boss maybe I should apologize again. Well, my boss called me last night to tell me that he caught him stealing paper towels off the cleaning people's cart last night. He was loading paper towels in a big bag. Well, I no longer feel bad. Happy news, boss gave me the day off. What are people thinking? I think the waterworks were more of just a pity technique that he knows works when he gets caught doing things he's not supposed to be doing. And I think the reason why he was targeting the specialty food is because it's specialty food. It's not because it's a superior quality or anything along those lines. It's because there's less people to complain, less people to notice. It's an easier target to take because, well, after all, we are needing gluten-free pizza, so they probably just didn't order that much. He's probably been doing this specifically for a while, targeting the dietary restricted foods just because he knows there's less people to complain, and has probably been getting away with it for quite some time. Again, this is an office space where people are pretty intimately familiar with each other. This is not an individual who has those dietary restrictions. This is not an individual who has secret dietary restrictions. That'd be fucking stupid. Why would you hide your dietary restrictions from the office? Especially when there's oftentimes hosted parties like this where food is provided for you. You would want your dietary restrictions to be known ASAP. Like, if he was trying to get leftovers after everybody had eaten, this would be an entirely different story. But because he's not only going after the ones that are dietary restricted, but on top of that, doing it before people have had even a chance to consume sustenance, dude's just being a selfish, calculated asshole. He knows what he's doing, and that's even further proven by the fact that he's stealing goddamn paper towels from the cleaning crew. Dude, go to Costco. The cleaning crew, they're not using the expensive premium paper towels, but you can go to Costco and get 12 rolls of paper towel for like $25. And these ones are actually premium. The Quarantinian. My son is entitled to never being corrected in public. Do you understand me? I was a swim teacher once upon a time. I did all ages, from infants, water acclimation with a parent, through high school. Drop me in the water with up to 10 kids and everybody had a safe, fun, and safe time. In all the years I did this, I had exactly one kid who posed a problem. This kid could not swim more than 2 feet and could not tread water, the same as the other kids in his class of 8 students or so, around 8 years old or so. This kid would not follow the rules. When we were working on jumping into the pool, he would not wait his turn. Dangerous because I only have so many arms and I was catching somebody else. We would practice going up and down the ladder and would run behind my back and jump in. Practicing going hand over hand along the wall, he would crawl over the other kids and go the wrong way. He would push off from the wall, start to struggle, I would pull him back, and he would do it again. He was a distraction, a danger to the other kids in his class and a danger to himself. I had him get out of the pool and sit with his back against the wall, about 3 feet from the edge of the pool, well within view of the lifeguard, and told him to stay there until I got back. I took the kids through the rest of the hand-over-hand drill to the end of the pool and back, which took maybe 90 seconds. It just wasn't safe to have him in the deep end. I then invited him back into the pool for the rest of the lesson. And for the next 20 minutes, he behaved perfectly. He listened. He followed every rule. He stayed with the group. He didn't let go of the wall when he shouldn't. No more rogue exploration or sneaky jumps. Situation resolved. End of the matter. The end. Or so I thought. After that lesson ended and before the next class started, the pool director asked me to follow him to the bleachers where parents could sit and watch the lessons, where I met a furious mother just seething in cold anger. With narrowed, unblinking eyes, she hissed at me. Never do that again. The only person who is allowed to discipline him is his father. I told her that the safety of her son and all the other students was the most important thing. If her son needed to follow the rules, period. If she wanted to talk about if there was one more class that day, after that, I had all the time in the world. Through all of this, the pool director didn't say a word. Mom walked off stiffly. I taught my next class. Aside from looking at me and shaking his head as I was retrieving the pool toys from the bottom of the pool, at the end of the day, he never referenced it again. The student didn't show up for the next 3 lessons. Edit to add, the director did have my back and expressed 100% support for me. She approached him and lodged her complaint, but he was in the director's office doing director stuff, so he didn't see it go down. He stood by, which let the mother know that he was aware of her issue, but by not saying a word, the message was clearly, the instructor is the ultimate authority in the class. What he says goes. There is no reason for me to intervene here. He has the situation solidly in control. And I have 100% confidence that he can handle the student and you. You cannot run to me to appeal because there is no appeal to be made. If I was a teenager teaching my first class, he would have acted much differently. A poor kid teaching her first class in that situation would have been terrified and had shaky confidence facing up to a mad mommy, and he would have intervened. But I was in my 20s with a decade of teaching. I got my WSI and lifeguard instructor certifications at 17, and more than capable of dealing with her. His silence was a much appreciated acknowledgement of my ability to handle the class and myself. When he shook his head at me later, it was in the form of, some people. Can you believe people like that exist? If you imagine it came with an eye roll, the message was clear. I appreciate the bit of out of context there, definitely does help wrap the story up. But that kid, as they grow up, they're going to be in for a pretty rude reality. Or actually, what I think it is the mother is going to be in for a really rude reality check. Because when her child is suddenly barred from participating from certain activities because they're not allowed to discipline him, it's going to make it very hard for him to be involved, and slowly the isolation is going to begin. He can't go on field trips because he can't behave. He can't participate in school events because he can't behave. And disciplining him is apparently not on the table. He can't participate in a classroom setting because, well, he can't behave and he can't be disciplined. See where I'm going? That kind of mentality and that kind of logic is going to eventually just cause so many goddamn problems down the line. Also, on an additional note that does kind of worry me a little bit, why is his father the only one allowed to punish him? And what kind of punishment is it? That definitely raises a massive red flag and draws a lot of concerns from me. Shave sex. A woman jumped into my car, and I'm an idiot, but it had a funny ending. I was at a stop sign around lunchtime when a woman on the corner came running over to the passenger side of my car, screeching about needing to get home. I was driving a convertible with the top down. She didn't wait for an answer, she just swung a leg over the door and plopped herself into the passenger seat, saying she'd give me $5 for gas. She told me she lived in a nearby low-income public housing project. I knew where it was, about 1.5 miles away. She was pretty tweaky, but somehow seemed fairly harmless. She never even glanced at me. Didn't seem to be plotting something, never said another word. So, here's the part where you can all give me shit. Please don't downvote me for my stupidity. I figured it was easier to just go 1.5 miles out of my way than to deal with the drama of trying to get her out of my car. My backup plan for carjackings is just drive into the first telephone pole I see, or rear-end the first police car I spot. Airbags for the win. Better to deal with the aftermath of that than have your body dumped into an alley. So I get to the housing project. It was broad daylight, and I was right in front of the main entrance with people around. So I didn't feel in any danger. She hopped out and ran off. I wouldn't have taken the $5 even if she offered, which she didn't. But mostly, I was pissed that she left the passenger door open as far as it could go. I got out to go around to close it when an older guy in a silver pickup pulls up. He put his passenger window down and asked, "Did I know that woman, and was I okay?" I replied, "No idea who she is, but yeah, I'm fine." He explained that he'd been coming down the street behind me when he saw that woman jump into my car. He followed me to see if anything sketch was going to go down. I was pretty stunned by the thoughtfulness and told him that, wow, thanks. That was a pretty awesome thing to do. He said, "I'd have punched that bitch right out of my truck." He then pointed a finger at my face and sternly lectured me like I was one of his kids. "Don't do that again." LOL. Yes, sir. Of course, he was absolutely correct, and if it ever happens again, let's hope not, I might just take his advice on the punching part, but just try to imagine the entitlement of jumping into a stranger's car because you need a ride. Honestly, if she'd picked the wrong vehicle, it could have turned out a lot worse for her. Buddy, you got extremely goddamn lucky that nothing happened on top of this. If someone also climbed over the door of a convertible to get in, I would lose my goddamn mind because you're gonna scratch the fucking clear coat. Don't do that. God damn. I would have been losing my mind over that alone. Like, seriously. I'm glad that OP didn't end up in an alleyway with their convertible stolen, but just definitely be careful because this is an insane situation that OP got incredibly lucky with. Even with the fact that there was just a kind Samaritan just around and watching what was going on and ready to help at a moment's notice. Just too quirky. Former instructor demands contact info of students so she can beg them for money. My best friend Kay works at an art center. It's mostly a museum/gallery, but they do a lot of community things, like offer art classes, and as a nonprofit, they also have a small store to sell items their instructors make or other trinkets. She's not a Reddit user, which is unfortunate because she could post a dozen amazing entries about her stepdaughter, who's a true Kevin A. But when I was texting her yesterday to complain about how bad my Monday was, she said there must be something in the air, because she had a crappy day too, and told me this story. I haven't been able to get it out of my mind due to the sheer audacity and entitlement of a stranger that I've never met, and thought I'd post it here. So, Kay works as a marketing director and grant writer for the art center, but I guess they were short-handed on Monday, and she was helping out with the small gift store they have up front. Obviously, she's not used to doing things like applying discounts, using the cash register, etc. And one patron was getting very demanding and complaining that Kay wasn't going fast enough, wrapping up her fragile glass and ceramic art purchases, or applying the correct discounts, then complaining about Kay needing to take time to look up the discount codes, etc. In the middle of this, the phone rings, and she answers. It's a woman calling from several states away, stating that she used to teach art classes there. Note, I'm sure they paid the art instructors, but it's a normal amount, something like $30 a class. And I think the student's enrollment fee for a course, usually a total of 4 to 6 classes, depending on the type of art, is around $25. Point being, even if an instructor was teaching multiple courses at a time, this isn't the equivalent of a full-time job, more like something to keep a retiree busy. I just mention it based on how the ending of the phone conversation went. Customer in front of Kay is complaining, and a nice volunteer comes over to help with the checkout. Which is great, but volunteers aren't supposed to have access to the cash register or handle money. Kay tries to ask the woman on the phone if she can put her on hold, but was told, no, this will just take a minute, by the caller. Kay was thinking, okay. She said she used to work here. Maybe she just wants to be transferred to the person that does hiring so she can come back and teach, or wants to talk to someone else and reminisce. That only takes a few seconds, and I'll transfer the call. Regrettably, she said okay, instead of insisting the woman go on hold for a minute. So as the customer in front is complaining loudly while Kay tries to do the credit card transaction, and the volunteer wrap the art purchases up to prevent them from breaking as fast as possible. The caller explains to Kay that she used to be an instructor at the art center years ago. She needs the contact information of her former students. Kay's not sure she's understanding this correctly given the commotion going on around her, but the caller explains that she knows all her former students, as part of their enrollment, had to put down a phone number or email or other contact information, and she wants that. She's sure the art center keeps those lists, and those former students are probably still taking classes with other instructors right now, or have become members of the art center. But they were her students, so she's allowed to contact them. She just needs all their names and numbers. At this point, customer in front of her is making a ruckus about discount codes, and Kay realizes this is definitely not going to take just a minute. So Kay calls over a program director that happened to be walking by to take over the phone call, and just concentrates on the customer in front of her and applying all the correct discounts. This alone apparently took several minutes because the customer wanted her 10% senior discount off on top of the 5% membership discount when you're only allowed one or the other. The whole time, the director is standing there on the corded landline phone next to her saying things like, "Yes, I remember you. Well, that was almost 10 years ago. I don't know if we still have those sign-up sheets. You want the current student's information? But why? Do you need a reference?" And then there was a very long pause. You see, the caller explained that she had moved to a different state, was unable to get a job, and now living in a motel with no money. she needed to reach out to all her former students and let them know this, so they could send her money. So she needs the names of her students. They love her and will want to help her out, and she's entitled to be able to keep in contact with them if she wants to. But if they don't have that information, she needs all the names and phone numbers of current students. An art student would never let an art instructor suffer like she is, even if they never met her. So she'll call them all up and they'll send her money, once they know about it. Needless to say, the art center did not think this was a valid reason to give out contact information. Caller apparently kept pressing her sob story, trying to pull on heartstrings, then eventually becoming irate and started to say something about how if the art center was refusing to give her the names of her students, then they will have to rehire her. All they have to do is give her an advance on her paycheck. 4 exclamation marks in a row. So she can return to the area and find a place to live. When the director stated they weren't hiring right now, the caller then demanded to speak to a program director because these were her students and she needed to talk to them. Kay said the only silver lining of her crappy Monday was hearing the woman say, "Name, I am the director, and my decision is final," before slamming down the phone and relaying the conversation to Kay. The caller did continue to call back, but they stopped answering calls from that area code for the rest of the day. I wish the art center had a working answering machine or voicemail, because I'm sure those messages would have been hilarious. So I do understand that desperation can make you kind of in a pretty just fucked headspace, but this is not okay. I can't even imagine going to an art center and then 10 years later the instructor is emailing me or calling me for additional funds, or going to an art center and then an instructor from 10 years ago emails or calls me asking for financial help. I would straight up assume that it's a scam. I do additionally wonder who else she contacted beyond the art center, because for her to hit the point where she's calling an art center that she worked at 10 years ago for financial assistance makes me wonder how far down her checklist she traveled. I do wish the best of luck, despite, the approach and the entitlement behind it, because financial stress is honestly just horrific and can do horrible things to your body and mind. So I do hope that she does get her ducks in a row, but this is not the way to approach it. Alone, Tangelo 2044. My husband demanded my mother take frame photos off her wall when we stayed at her house, because they vexed him. We traveled internationally to visit family. This is both our second marriage. 12 plus years ago, my brother got married. Brother and wife gifted my mother a large set of 3-frame pictures of their wedding to my mom. These are on her wall. My ex-husband was in one of the pics. We have stayed at her house previously without issue, but now there's been a big snowstorm and he's bored, feeling a bit grumpy. And he's caused this drama after being housebound for 2 days. It is a big fight. Now, he has apologized for the sake of family, but he regularly fights about this, long since past incident, because he does in no way believe he was wrong. He only did what he needed to do to make peace for the moment. Now, my mom doesn't like him. That's real. She is easygoing like me, has the idea that I choose my life partner and she will never interfere with that, which is honorable. Always chooses peace where possible. She told him firmly that he is and will continue to be welcome in her house, but she will in no way make accommodations and remove the offending picture. And I'm proud of her for standing her ground. Thinking over our years together, I realize he is a bully. He dominates, manipulates. He can say whatever to escape his present conflict, which he always creates. And words don't seem to mean anything to him. They're just a means to an end. He doesn't have to keep his word. Whatever was agreed to can be swapped via change of mind in any moment for any reason. I feel there is no depth. The whole thing/relationship feels like a fraud, and that this marriage is the scam of my life. I don't think I can accept this type of meaningless existence whose foundation is his self-delusion. It's like a narcissistic thing where his life depends on being right about everything, as a matter of life or death, and he only has enough sense to fake an apology, like in this instance. But of course, this is only one example of many issues. There's forgiveness, there's putting up with quirks and foibles, not expecting others to be perfect. But this really seems like the whole damn thing is false. Well, I came here for picture frame drama inside OP's mother's house, and instead I got a venting lesson about the fact that her husband is just not who he seems to be, and she's well on her way to a divorce. I suppose this is now a crossover episode with r/Am I the Ex. But in all honesty, if you're starting to notice cracks in his facade, then I would probably start by having a conversation with him. See what his reaction is. If he deflects, lies, pushes things away, or even flips the script on you and tries making this about you instead of you having an honest conversation about his behaviors that you're uncomfortable with, then it might be time to reevaluate your marriage. If you aren't happy, that's not something to ignore. Unfortunately, sometimes, and there's no shame in this, you don't begin to notice behaviors or cracks in the facade until there's been enough time for the sunk cost fallacy to get its clutches on you, and you have to now deal and grapple with that kind of mental conundrum. The best step for you to make is the one that'll make you the happiest in this relationship, and that's the approach you should take. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Bear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.